your space. So no matter what industry, no matter what niche. So we've created an entire system and a strategy behind that. Everything from helping with the social media to the content marketing to video to PR. You name it, all a part of creating that brand that is you. And so Radiant LA is all about that.
Definitely, that's really awesome, of course. And so now, now we're gonna get a little background because the fact of the matter is, you started out in as a radio DJ back in the day, and then, of course, first of all, what led you into that field?
Well, it was kind of in my blood. My dad has done it his entire life. And so I think I naturally came by it. I tagged along with him for a lot of years here in the LA area. I'm born and raised, and I spent a lot of time with him in studios. And I think, unbeknownst to me, I just kind of caught the bug. And so when I was going through high school looking for a job, that was kind of a natural to fall into that for me, and ended up turning into a career and on air. So I did morning radio on air for a good 10 years. And then I realized that morning drive, getting up, at 2 o'clock in the morning to get to the studio, not as much fun as it sounds. And at the time my son was young, and it was just becoming a bigger and bigger challenge to get him to school and get to the studio and then come home. And I was exhausted, and I recognized that there was probably something more that I wanted to do. But radio set me up really well, I think, in that now with the just craziness that is video across social media, I'm very comfortable with it, which definitely comes from those years of radio. So it was a really good foundation for me, unbeknownst to me.
That's really awesome. And of course, now that leads to a transition to when you first started your blog in 2004, and of course, at that time, did you knew at that time you're going to be successful blogging? And then, of course, second part of that question is, how did you overcome those doubts if, once you were blogging along the way?
Yeah, no, I did not know that. I really just stumbled into it. So from radio, I went into the mortgage and real estate industry and started a company. And I was just really looking to build my company, build my brand. And it was at that time that this was, well, yeah, early 2000s, that I started to dive into the world of blogging. And I don't even think it was called blogging at the time. But yeah, for me, I'm a lover of the spoken word, of the written word, and it was very easy for me to transition out of radio into writing, and just, I think, finding an outlet for my thoughts and ideas. And so for me, it was just a way to expand my business. And so I just, started to tippy toe into that world and started writing with the intention of just writing for that person I was trying to connect with. And, like I said, it turned into something that I had no idea that it would actually, snowball into and then turn into an entirely separate career. But it's been a phenomenal journey, I have to say, just to see. I started my blog, RebekahRadice.com, in 2004. And how that has evolved and grown and just shaped where I am today it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and of course, that's really awesome. So, and of course, now you're the master planner, of course, because you have taken your blog and made it into an award-winning blog, and it's now been voted as top 10 blogs on Social Media Examiner I believe 3 years in a row at that time,
Two. It
and
was two.
two
Yeah.
years, 2 years in a
Yeah.
row. Sorry about that. And so now I gotta. So now, of course, what advice would you give to anyone of us who are thinking of starting a blog for our business? Who, what steps would you give to us?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones is be intentional from the beginning. Think about who your audience is, who you're writing for, and what problem are you trying to solve for them. I was on the very beginning stages of social media. And so there wasn't a ton of intention for me with social media or with my blogging at the time, other than I knew the audience I wanted to connect with. But I wish I had been more intentional and focused in when I wrote, how often I wrote, that I was building my email list from the very beginning, and that I was really cultivating that community from the get go. So it goes well beyond just, hey, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to, create a blog, because anybody could do that in 5 minutes. Um, with all the platforms we have today. Uh, but being intentional about what you're putting out there is definitely, I think, the biggest piece of advice that I could share in taking that step back and thinking about, put yourself in the shoes of that person you're wanting to connect with, and think about what is the true intent of that person. Why would they want to connect with you? What product or service do you have, and what is it that's bringing them to you because of your solution, because of that problem that you solve. So really think about who that person is, what they're looking for, why they're coming to you, and how they're finding you as well, so that you can be very, very intentional in that content that you're creating. And then, of course, in that content that you're sharing across, because that filters out across all of your social channels. And all of that needs to support your overall goal.
Definitely, I definitely agree with that. And because it's like now, I guess the statistic is there are now about 450 million websites in the world, and most of them is with blogs.
Crazy.
So, so it's like, you have to know, it's like you figure out your audience, figure out your niche per se, and dominate that niche in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's back to that thought of it's not enough anymore to just throw up a blog and post random content. Back when I first started, we were lucky if we were creating 300 or 400 word blog posts. Today we're 2,000 words and beyond, and I think we're settling back down into a more reasonable space for people that want to create content on a consistent basis. But I do totally agree with you. I think you have to not only commit to a schedule, but commit to quality. Putting quality content out there, putting a quality product out there that you are proud of, and that truly is a representation of your brand.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, definitely agree wholeheartedly. Now, let's transition into your book, which you just released, called the called I forgot, and I just actually social media mastery. I can't believe I forgot the name, but it's called social. I mean, because it's a really great book, but by social media mastery, which you just released, and I read the book, and it is really timely. And let's just say you written it in a way like you were speaking to that person one on one. So, can you share about what led you to write that book, and what was the process?
Yeah, well, thank you. I really, that's a huge compliment that I wrote it, like I was speaking to you one on one, because that's really what I hoped for. And It was really born out of the people that I talk to every single day that are still struggling to manage social media and frustrated that they're not getting better results, that they're not able to get everything done that they know that they should be doing within their business on a daily basis. And so, with that person in mind, I just took all this feedback I've gotten, and I speak on a consistent basis. So I'm very fortunate that I get to hear people's real life challenges of what they're struggling with, and it was just really all of the content was to solve that particular problem, which was, how do I manage this? How do I actually master social media? What does that even look like? I think that's a big question a lot of people don't ask. What does success even look like to me? And then how do I get there? How do I put the building blocks in place every day? And then how do I create momentum? How do I expand upon what I'm doing? And then most importantly, how do I monetize what I'm doing on social media? So, really it all came out of challenges that people have shared with me over the years. And just that seeing that it's not getting any easier, it's only getting harder to manage everything that's around us. I felt like it was time.
That's very good. And of course you just set an example because of the fact that you listen to what your audience was pain points, and you solve the problem in a sense by writing this book, which I mean it's really really well done.
Oh, well, thank you. I really appreciate that. As a content creator, that you put your heart and soul into everything you do. So thank you.
All right, welcome. You're welcome. And so now of course, you're now about to journey into the world of podcasting
Ah,
because
yes.
because you're about to launch the Brand Authority podcast. What led you to decide to take that shift?
Well, we talked about my radio background, so it's
Hmm.
kind of a natural for me. I had launched a podcast a few years ago, and at the time, whoa, I don't think I anticipated, how much work truly goes into all of those great podcasts that we listen to every single day. And it was a lot to keep up with at the time. And so I've always wanted to get back to it. And it felt like, again, the right time to launch something like that. I love chatting with people like we're doing here. And so it felt like a great way to be able to tap into all of my relationships, my friends, all those people that I've known online for so many years, and be able to pull them in, as experts, or talk about, how real life people are building their business, how they're succeeding, and how they're building their brand online. And so that's really where it came from. I think it's something that's been in the back of my mind for many years that I've wanted to get into. And with the launch of Radio in LA, it just was a perfect complement to that.
Okay, so now are you going to use live video to record your podcast? Because I remember you saying something that was very interesting. The stat that says 100 million internet users watch online video every day, and then now in the next couple of years, 80% of all internet activity will have video component in it.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's just crazy, isn't it? Just video has exploded. And to answer your question, I'll probably do some behind the scenes stuff. I'll tell you, that was the mistake I think I made last time. Was I did video and the podcast all at the same time, and then editing and just all of the management of that content. It's what became a little overwhelming. And I think I'll use video just in a little different way this time. Maybe, some behind the scenes outtakes, maybe some promos, teasers, things like that. But for the most part, I want to honor my podcast audience. and be very true to that medium and bring, just the best audio quality, which if you're ripping the audio from a video, definitely not going to get the best audio quality. So,
That's
yeah.
very interesting. Wow. Okay, that's really interesting there to hear.
Yeah.